Who among you has believed our message? To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering, familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hid their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. Yet we thought he was being punished, struck down, and afflicted by God. But really, he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him. By his wounds, we are healed. All of us are like sheep that have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way. But the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who in his day protested? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth.
I would like to tell you about a couple of moments in sports history, and I don't think you need to care about sports to appreciate these things. Two of them happened in the last couple of weeks. One of them happened in 1991. In 1991, Michael Jordan won his first NBA championship. Michael Jordan, if you've seen any of the clips, you know he was, as the kids say, a bad man. He was a bad man. He could beat you, and he knew he could beat you, and you knew he could beat you. He was vicious, powerful, strong, dominant. So the iconic picture that we have of Michael Jordan is the air picture, right? His legs split in the air, ready to dunk a basketball, a picture of athletic glory. But there's one other picture that I see very, very often and is almost as popular as that picture. It's his photo in 1991 after winning that NBA trophy. And as Jordan would say, I rarely cry. But after he won that trophy, he wept like a little baby. And he wept and he wept and he held it like a child. I have seen that video clip far more than I've ever seen any single Michael Jordan highlight. Why? What attracts us to a man who has such strength and power and might at his moment of weakness, vulnerability, nakedness? A couple of weeks ago, Luka Doncic, another dominant NBA player, when you watch him play, it's not so much that he's more athletic than the people around him, it's just that he can outthink them. It's like his brain is at 10 times speed. He walks around his opponents, and they don't even know what happened to them, and all of a sudden the basketball is in the hoop. He's incredibly dominant, psychologically dominant. And yet after being traded to the LA Lakers, he returned to the place where he was drafted pretty much as a kid, the Dallas Mavericks. He put up 45 points, very impressive. But every single news source I've seen is not playing a basketball highlight from Luka over the last 2 weeks. They're all playing the same clip and talking about the same clip. It's him sitting on the bench, looking at the Megatron as they play highlights of his time in Dallas, his home team. And he's weeping. and we're compelled by it. We are attracted to it. That strength and that dominance in a moment of vulnerability, there's something that makes him even more compelling than he was before. Sunday night, many of us watched as Rory McIlroy completed his PGA Tour Grand Slam. He's only the 5th player in history to win all 4 PGA championships. The biggest championship, the Masters, is the one he could never quite catch. He tried for 17 years, and finally, on Sunday night, he won for the first time. He had had a lead a few years ago and lost it, and so he went into a playoff hole, made some incredible golf shots, some of the most amazing I'd ever seen. But once again, I haven't seen any of those highlights this week. I've seen the clip over and over again of Rory McIlroy tossing his golf club behind him, falling down, his shoulders slinking, and weeping. And the announcer saying, "And that's why we love him. That's why we love Rory." What is going on? What is it about us that is compelled to someone strong in a moment of weakness? What is it about us that is compelled to see dominance, strength, power, and might commingling with weakness, vulnerability, nakedness, sorrow? In Isaiah chapter 53, Isaiah tells us what the Messiah Jesus will be like. Isaiah chapter 53 verse 1 says, "Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" The arm of the Lord is a phrase you'll find all over the Old Testament, and almost always it is referring actually to a single event. It is referring to God rescuing his people from their Egyptian oppressors by ruining their economy, killing their firstborn children, and drowning their army in the sea. That was the arm of the Lord for his children, the people of Israel. It is a phrase that refers to God's power, his strength, his dominance, his might, the sort of things that make you tremble. And so when Job questions God, God says to him at the end of his questioning, "Who has an arm like the Lord? Who has a voice that thunders like his?" And so when we reach the book of Isaiah, Isaiah is talking all about the arm of the Lord, and here's what he says just a few chapters before chapter 53. "And the Lord will cause his majestic voice to be heard, and the descending blow of his arm to be seen, in furious anger, and a flame of devouring fire, with a cloudburst and storm and hailstones, and all of that fury and might and those things that will make you tremble." Isaiah 53 says those things will be found in a person. In a person. The arm of the Lord is a he in Isaiah 53 verse 1. Jesus, the Messiah, will be the embodiment of God's terror, his majesty. He will be the kind of person that will make you cower and tremble. And yet, Isaiah 53 says there is something that is also true about this man. Verse 2, "He grew up before him like a tender shoot, like a root out of dry ground, like a little bean sprout that's so delicate and tender that if you were just to snap it, it would break. No beauty, no majesty to attract us to him. He's despised, rejected, a man of suffering, familiar with pain." The Messiah will be a man of strength and vulnerability, power and weakness, dominance and nakedness. How can that be? Here's how it can be. The cross is the place where the arm of the Lord is God wielding his own arm against himself. The strength of God wielded against God in nakedness and vulnerability and weakness for your sin, for mine. strength and weakness commingling together in the person of Christ. It is a sight to make us tremble at the judgment of God, and it is also a sight to make us tremble at the openness of God, the weakness of God, the vulnerability of God. Why does God come to us in this way? Why does Jesus come to us in this way? The Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once told a story to describe why God must come to us this way. He said, imagine that there is a king over a great kingdom, and he's terrible. He's good, but he's terrible. He's strong. Kings around the country are afraid of him. Princes are afraid of him. But one day he falls in love with a peasant, a maiden. Now this puts him in a conundrum. How would he convince this maiden to marry him for true love? If he were to invite her to his palace and say, would you marry me? She would say yes, but it would be out of fear. It would be because she trembles at him. If he were to take his royal court and march to her house, she might say yes, but it would be out of awe. So what does he have to do? He has to not only dress like a peasant, but he has to become a peasant. He has to become a peasant so that he can know that when she says yes to him, she does it freely because of who he is. When Jesus added flesh to his own divine nature, he became a peasant for you. At the cross, Jesus is saying, all of my strength, all of my might, it is all on display, and it is me against myself for you. These are my arms open wide. Would you take them? Would you take them? And my question for you is, have you seen the beauty of Jesus? The beauty of the strength and weakness of an athlete is nothing to be compared with the strength and glory of God and the weakness and vulnerability of nakedness of the cross. Have you seen it for yourself? Not through the eyes of a pastor, not through the eyes of a politician with an agenda, but have you seen it? And have you opened your arms and received it? Jesus, you are the most beautiful being in the universe. You are the arm of the Lord. You are a tender shoot. We come before you today to worship you for both of those things, all of those things, and to tremble in fear and in love.